Hi guys, I'm MC Truth, and I'm here again today with Glenn Ward. Hello, Glenn.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Just before we start, just to let anyone watching know, my hearing's gone, so I'm trying my best to do this interview, but I may ask Glenn to repeat himself, so I apologise in advance. Glenn, how are you? How have you been?
I'm good. I've been quite busy recently, so haven't had a chance to catch up on anything. But it's always best when it's like that anyway. So just go at it.
We've been looking forward to getting back in touch with you. Obviously, the first time I did an interview with you, we said we'd do another part.
Yep.
Lots of people have been saying, "Where's the second part? Where's the second part?" I said, "Patience. We've got
We've got to try and catch everyone together."
Absolutely. Glenn's busy. I'm busy. Darren's busy. Darren was going to be with us tonight. Unfortunately, he's had to go for a medical appointment. But we still managed to get on together. And he's asked me to say thank you to Glenn for doing this and for coming on the last two times. And he's also asked me to pass on a few things. So some of the feedback from the last interviews. We got a lot of comments thanking you.
I haven't seen. Sorry, guys.
Lots of people really appreciated you obviously coming forward, talking about this. It's helping people. So he wanted to read out a couple of them. So I'll just load up what he sent me. These are messages that he's captured from the comments. I don't know if you've seen any of the comments on the video.
I haven't. I've not even. No, I haven't.
No. So one of them was, "Thank you, Glenn. You're helping a lot of people. This must be hard for you and your family. Bless you, friend." That was Caroline P. I haven't got the names of all of these actually. But another one said, "I just want Glenn to know he should not feel embarrassed about Charlie's behaviour. It's not a reflection on him. Glenn comes across well, and I respect him for speaking out as he doesn't want people to get scammed. I think it has took courage for Glenn to do this, so kudos to him." And another one, "I just want to say thank you. I stopped following Charlie Ward a few weeks ago. I just had a feeling. This backs up my gut instinct. Thank you and take care." With a Scotland flag. And that was Faz Oko, got that name. And there was a few messages asking, "Glenn, are you single?"
Yeah, I am, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, there's a few people fishing in the comments there. Hoping you may respond to them, I guess. But yeah, so in
that way as well, by the way.
There's just a couple of comments. There was I didn't see how many actually, hundreds at least of comments on the previous two interviews. So I encourage you to go look at them because many of them are.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to try.
Really encouraging.
Yeah.
So last time we spoke, I thought it was going to be sort of one interview, but obviously it would have taken a lot of time. We had to do it in two parts. And on the first part, the way I'd set up how we were going to do it is I wanted to go back over some things you'd already said, clear them up, show you some things that people already knew. So some people felt that, oh, well, you're just going back over old ground. But it was to set up the second half of the interview. So I'll get the opportunity to do that tonight. So I thank you, Glenn. And we'll get stuck into it. So I wanted to start. I think we spoke about this last time, so I don't know if it's even worth me showing the video or anything. We touched on it. It was around the top of the pops statement that Charlie had made.
Yeah, I remember that.
With a certain television personality that allowed me access into the BBC. I used to be able to get onto a very famous program called Top of the Pops. And a lot of the girls would say to me, Charlie, get me on Top of the Pops. And I could take probably 5 or 10 girls on a week. And I said, well, I'll take you on, but you'll end up having to shag the bloke that, if he'll probably want to shag. And they were like, no problem, we come, And there was never a problem.
Right.
Now 30 years on, and their marriage is dissolved and they're in their 50s and 60s, it's suddenly become a problem. It wasn't a problem all those years ago.
Right, exactly.
And I remember these girls saying, I'm quite happy to come there. So I'm very, very careful. Now, there is a lot of bad things going on for definite. And there was bad things going on there because a lot of these girls were young girls, you know.
It's quite sickening, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the part, you know, he says a lot of these girls were under young girls. Let me just remove that. For some reason, playing a video had sort of lagged the screen. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to show any other video successfully without it lagging. But yeah, that was an important statement that many people took notice of. And I think you'd said before that you don't believe it's even true.
I don't think it's true. I can't see how it was true. Like that era of Top of the Pops, he lived in Spain. He wasn't around there. This is the prime example of the shit he talks. He just makes shit up to make himself look. He doesn't even realize what he's saying. He just makes it up, as well. Just like it makes him think that he's in with these celebrities. You know, he doesn't even care which ones it is. I can't see it's being true. I hope it's not true. For you know, just for the sake of it, for the family and everything. But yeah, he was in Spain around that era. He lived in Spain. He very rarely came back because I know that because he very rarely saw us as children. So I'd be shocked to think it was true. But if it is, well, either which way, if it is, it's fucking awful. And if he's lying, well, it's fucking awful. So
that's it.
What it is.
Either way, it's not great, is it? So
no,
I wonder before you said anything, is this just a flex? You know, I knew these celebrities, I was able to do this, I was an important person. And then later on, you know, months later, when I brought it up in the 30 Reasons video, no one had picked up on it. Or if they had, they just mentioned it. Well, about that weird thing that he said. But no one had reported on it. And I put it into 30 Reasons, and that was one of the biggest things that caused the storm. Oh, and really? Immediately he made a statement afterwards on one of the shows, and he said, well, some guy, some truth seeker put out this video, and he said that I'd taken loads of underage girls and things like that, and he said it was only two girls, and they were women, right? Even though he said I used to be able to take 5 to 10 a week.
Yeah.
And then he says, and I'm in contact with these two girls and women, and they told me that they were 21 at the time. You know, I talked to them the other day because, of course, he's still got their phone number from the 80s.
Yeah, because he had a mobile phone, then he stored it, didn't he? Yeah.
And they said, oh, no, we were 21 at the time. And he said, so that clears all that up. Of course it does, Charlie. Yeah. But, yeah, I do wonder whether it's backtracking. He said it, so he can't say, well, actually, it's not true. But he can make up some story about it. Yeah. So, yeah, that was interesting. I wanted your thoughts on that. The other thing that a lot of people that were giving feedback had said on the comments, especially people that are obviously Charlie Ward fans or just stuck in some sort of cognitive dissonance and wanted to try and make up something to be like, well, this is not true, because they said, well, how do we know this is even Charlie's son? My first reaction.
Do you think I'd want to pretend I was his son?
Sorry?
Do you think I'd want to pretend I was his son? Like, seriously?
Well, some people would think maybe that, you know, the deep state have paid someone to come on as an actor.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Conspiracy theorists to make him conspiracy theorists again. Ooh.
Or any excuse. Any excuse. Yeah. And, you know, my first point was, well, Charlie had actually responded to those interviews and said, well, my son, this, that, and the other. So he'd validated it in his own Insiders Club. Aside from that, I asked you if you could send over a couple more
pictures.
So let's see if we can have a look at a couple of those.
That's me.
That's you.
Your ex-wife as well.
Talk to me about that. Where are you? Our Space.
Our Space was a WeWork style thing in Marbella. I run the marketing down in Marbella for things to do in Marbella and in Marbella, which were my companies. We worked there. It was the opening night. We helped with the launch. My father came along. I think Dave Honeyman was actually a part of this. I believe he was something to do with my old man as well, if I'm right, from what I've seen.
Not a name I'm familiar with.
David Honeyman. No, okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
No, you're probably right. I don't know everyone.
Sorry.
I said you might be right. I don't know everyone. I
don't want to put people in the frame if they're not in the frame. That's why.
Sure.
So yeah, no, yeah, we was there. That was the opening evening. Okay, the next photo there, that was in Dubai. That was a Nikki Beach opening. Is that Saki, and the other guy, I forget his name now. He basically does all the events, sort of stuff there. And I was asked in Dubai a few years back for the Nikki Beach grand opening.
Oh, okay, that's that.
That there.
You look young there. I don't know if it's just because you've not got the beard.
Yeah, I think it's the beard. It does take a few years off. Yeah, it's not that long ago. It's about 5 years ago, I think. No, maybe about 8 years ago. I forget what party we were at. Imogen Thomas was with us at the time because we know her quite well. It's when I first met my missus. So yeah, 2012, 2013. I'm going to say that year was. So we were just at a house party. Quite a grand house party at that, but yeah, it was a house party technically.
There's just a few there to show that you do know Charlie.
Yeah,
you know him quite well.
Very well. He's actually on my birth certificate as well, believe it or not.
Sorry? He's
actually on my birth certificate as well, believe it or not.
Well, there you go. We won't show that, but you know, no. I don't think we need to go that far.
No. He's already validated it. If they don't believe that, then they're obviously, you know, they're trying to weave around certain areas and trying to make up stuff. So it is what it is.
That's right. He's already validated it himself in his Insiders Club. So anyone that actually does follow him properly will have seen the response from Charlie regarding you, and that was that you didn't know at the time because he was under an NDA. On the private jets, he couldn't tell you so much, which turn out weren't private jets.
I've also heard he's going to take me to court as well for all this. So if I do get the court papers, I will show you that he's taking his son to court. So I will be looking forward to that.
Yeah, great. Well, not great, no.
It's never great, but it'll be interesting. Let's say the least.
He has said the same to me, and you know, I wondered whether we can get through this without me showing clips. But I've got a couple of clips I think you should see.
Yep.
He's known to, when his back's in the corner, to make threats or be quite aggressive. Whether or not he puts across this kindly gentleman persona to his followers, he actually can be quite nasty. Okay. Sorry, guys, we got cut off there. The clip that I was trying to show was making the screen lag, so hopefully it'll work this time. So we were talking about threats that Charlie's made, especially towards me, and we're going to go on to talk about that further with Glenn. But let's just have a look at the clip. The first part of the clip is actually a threat that he'd made, an indirect threat to Rice Crypto. I'll let myself explain in the video.
Now, Charlie had a falling out with Chris Rice of Rice TV. Chris Rice gave Charlie some ultimatums to get back to him around the whole Greg Hallett situation, the fake king. Charlie decided to stop contact with Rice. Now, after my interview with Charlie, Charlie said he would get back in contact with Rice, which he did. And then Rice did an interview with Charlie. In that interview, Charlie explains how he had two choices, he says. He could either completely ignore Rice, or he could send the boys round.
I'll have another chat with him without any problem.
Me and you kind of ended off on a bad foot. You ended up blocking me on social media. I know I was the American pit bull.
Well, no, with you, there's two ways I could have dealt with you, because you were having a little tantrum. So either I just say, look, I can't be bothered to deal with tantrums. You were saying, well, I'll put out all these videos. And I said, fine, do what you want. I've got two choices. I can block you on social media, or I can send somebody around your house to shut you up. And I thought that was the nicer way of doing things.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have had fun.
I'm totally aware of the onslaught that's against us all. I've just learned from previous experiences not to respond, because that's all they want is a response. I know the truth, and what they're trying to do is trying to provoke a reaction. This particular guy came on my show about a year ago when I started. Turns out he's an ex-police officer. He was removed from the police force for falsifying documents. He's just a little worm, but he's desperate for a response, so I'm not even going to bother to respond. I'm telling you all, I'm absolutely fine. I'm really happy. Things are really good, and we're coming into an exciting week. Stay positive and don't let these horrible little trolls destroy our lives. The best thing is to rise above them and just not respond to them, not give them any response whatsoever, and then they'll just die, because they thrive on people responding.
So first of all, you make up a fabricated story to try and discredit me, saying that I was a disgraced police officer, and you ask your followers to pay me no attention and to not look at the content and to not comment on it, not talk about it. It's damage control, trying to discredit me. And there's nothing to it. So where was the proof of this, Charlie? Of course, it wasn't true, and then you would go on to change your story. So next, with the latest video I brought out, you had a different story.
I got a load of messages this morning saying, "Do you know that this truth seeker has been attacking you?" I said,
"Yeah."
But to me, it just shows that we're over the target. Because the woman that I interviewed that claimed that she was trafficked.
When I very first saw you, Charlie, I swore I knew you. And then I heard you talk. And I swear to you, I've met you before on a private plane, going to one. I wish I had a map right here with me.
Hold on. Did Sabrina just say she recognises and remembers Charlie Ward from the private jet from when she was trafficked as a child?
Quite a few islands there, but I've never been to those ones.
You've never been to those, Kate? Because that's where I keep thinking. But anyway, like, I could be wrong, but I swear. But anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she was trafficked or not, but she reckons that she saw me on a plane 25 years ago. Okay. Can you tell me something? That was me 25 years ago. Would you recognize me?
No, absolutely not. Nope.
Picture
exactly.
of him.
I've just got my lawyers onto it this morning. I said, fine, this is who it is. This is where he lives. He doesn't even know that we know where he lives. He'll shit himself when he finds out. But I've got some of the top lawyers in the UK that will pay him a little visit soon.
And so now you're saying that lawyers are going to be knocking at my door. However, you soon thought about this afterwards. You know, you've told the world, oh, lawyers are going to be knocking on his door. We know where he lives, etc. And you thought about it afterwards, of course, and thought, well, hang on a minute, this is not true, and it's not going to stop him. There's no legal recourse, because literally I'm just showing the things that you're saying. So what do you do next? That you say that we're deep state and that you can't touch us legally. So instead you're going to try and incite people to come to our doorstep.
We now know who the trolls really are, and they're all funded by the Secret Service. So they're not just. So then that gave us another problem with our legal team. Because if you go to the police and report them, they're in the same swamp.
That's right.
So you can't go to the police. And my lawyer said even the judges are corrupt too. We know that with the Supreme Court in America. So there was a suggestion that myself, Dave Mahoney and Lee Dawson go knock on their door and just introduce ourselves and see what they have to say and read them the riot act about behaviour. But at the end of the day, they're just pawns. That's all they are. They're paid prostitutes by the deep state. And we could very easily go out publicly and name them publicly and put their addresses out publicly. But we're just discussing with legal teams at the moment the right way to handle them, to make them realise you can't go out and lie about people and create a load of stories and twist what people say. Claire, who I work very closely with as well, who you both know, her and I did some research, and we found out in no time at all that the four main trolls that are trolling us are all paid for by MI5 and MI6 in the UK. Course. So the minute you know that these are just little guinea pigs. These are out of work little bastards who are trying to create a name for themselves, but being funded for by the deep state and the cabal. But what it does mean is we now have a decision to make, because there's no point us going to the police because they're all in the same bed. And if it goes to court, the judges are in the same bed.
Absolutely.
So our options are basically to name them, their real names rather than their fake names, and maybe publish their addresses. Or for myself, Dawson and Mahoney, to rock up at their house and just have a face-to-face with them and see what they've got to say for themselves face-to-face.
You know what that means?
Paint more of a picture of, like, you know, a mob boss with henchmen behind him. If you tried.
And teach them the rules of life, that you don't put out lies and bullshit about people, even if somebody is paying you to do it, because we know who their paymaster is. We now have the evidence. We've actually got the paper trail.
You've now fabricated that we're all deep state and being paid by the MI6, and it's brilliant. You say that you've got a paper trail, so I can't wait for you to show us that evidence fabricated. You know, you are, you know, a gold medal winning, champion, trophy holding, record scoring Muppets, mate.
Because we've got some clever people behind the scenes. So we have the paper trail of who's involved, and we got the paper trail of the finances that they've been paid for doing this. So we've got everything we need. It's a question now of how we go about it. It's like holding 2 or 3 aces in your hand and thinking, how do I play this? And that's where we're at right now. But it's really, really exciting.
This was months
and
ago,
I think I'm
way.
really glad you addressed it like that, Charlie. You know, we all love you.
Pisses me off a little.
And what you know, how you deal with everything is just with dignity.
For myself,
she says how you handle it with
Dawson and Mahoney to rock up at their house and just have a face-to-face with them and see what they've got to say for themselves face-to-face, and teach them the rules of life.
Amazing way you're dealing with it, Charlie.
I don't know if you know, but I've been trolled along with Claire and Nick and a few others. We've got 3 or 4 trolls who've been after us and saying I'm a paedophile and saying all this kind of rubbish, absolute garbage.
Never said that.
we got some very, very good people who work on the inside, who've done some research, and you'll never guess. All 4 of the trolls that we've we've now found out their names and addresses where they live. They're all paid for by MI5, MI6, and the deep state. They're all funded by them. So it just goes to show. So because they're paid for by MI5 and MI6, there's no point going to the police to complain because they're all in the same bed, and you can't go to the courts because they're in the same bed. So there's other options open to us, like publishing their address.
And will you?
Who knows? Somebody might.
Well, yeah. I mean,
but even if somebody just knocks up at their door, I mean,
that's it.
What are you trying to encourage here, Charlie?
You know, how you deal with everything is just with dignity.
We've got to defend yourself, Charlie.
You like my editing
skills? Right.
Yeah. Look, as Vladimir Putin rightly says, it's not our job to judge you. It's our job to send you to a man who will.
Exactly.
Why don't you turn up at their door, Charlie? You and Lee Dawson and some of your very young...
I would love to. Wouldn't it? It'd be quite good fun, actually.
Oh, don't mind me. I was just taking care of some paperwork. Yeah, Charlie. I heard what you said. I heard what the females said. I would advise you not to. Okay, I don't want to say I'm crazy, but I have 26 security cameras and enough hardware to make Somalia look like a kid's playing in a sandbox. Okay, now you do you. I know you're just Charlie and you're not the Messiah, but I also know that you feel like you're some type of god and you're untouchable.
That was my good friend Will from the Griftbusters panel. The 4 people where Charlie's saying that there's 4 of them. They're trolls, MI5, MI6. Firstly, what are your thoughts about what you've just seen? And secondly, how has he responded to you in a similar manner? If I can be presumptuous,
he does. That's the way he talks to people. If he thinks by threatening people, that's the way forward. The thing is, he knows if he wants my address, he can come and have my address because he's taken me to court. I thought I was getting paid by these MI6 and whatever it is.
You should be in touch with as well.
Yeah, well, he should be sending someone to my door. But he knows damn right if he comes to my door, it's gonna land up worse for him than it will for me. It just will. He knows he's better. He wouldn't want to cross my path anymore for what he's done to me in the past. So that pisses me off, and I'm happy to see him the way he goes on at the moment. And then how he's taking me to court, considering through all of that video, he was saying that we're in the pockets of them supposedly, and they're all funded and everything's all this and that, and the whole world's against him. So why is he going to court with a legal team? Why would you have a legal team? I'm sure it's mafia bosses, not legal team.
Well, yeah, exactly. And as you saw from that clip, you know, I think that I don't think he's talking to a legal team. If he is, he's probably talking to one of his fans who has some legal knowledge.
Yeah.
But even sometimes I doubt that, because of the things that came out of his mouth. I mean, in all of that, you know, if someone rocks up at my door now, it's good evidence for him to be responsible for that.
It's really the most stupidest thing. There's walkers and there's talkers. There's people that get on with it, and there's people that talk about it. There's people that talk about it and never do it because they've already given the evidence. The evidence is there, clear to see. You know, it's just the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's all
threats, isn't it? It's all threats and scare tactics and wanting people to shut up. And basically, since he realised that I wasn't going to shut up when he said that a legal team was coming to my door and he's going to be shitting himself, he then moved on to, we can't because they're deep state. So instead, hopefully someone will go around his house to shut him up, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty sickening, really.
Yeah. He sent, because I blocked him, he sent my mum a message. 1 second. Sorry. He sent my mum a message saying that he's going to take me to court. That's how I knew. So I'm just going to put this on silence. That's how I knew he was going to take me to court. An 8-minute video, voice message. My mum wouldn't forward me on. She don't want to be a part of any of this. That's fine, and I respect that. But yeah, just sending that to people is just, he's just. Well, let's see what happens after all of this, because there's a lot more I can tell you guys about him, and I don't mind, because I don't think what he's doing is right, and I will continue to. And I don't like what he's done to me either. So that's it.
Yeah, I think, you don't have to do this. It could be easy enough for you to just ignore it. So I do have to give you a lot of credit and a lot of love from not just me, from everyone that this is helping, affecting, or that they can pass this video on to help others with. Glenn, I appreciate that you're in a position where, I'm just some guy. Yes, I'm reporting on facts. I'm showing you what he's saying. I'm showing you what's not true. But a member of his family, his son, in fact, to come forward and share his, experience and the reality, as it were, adds a whole different layer of validity to the argument that this guy's not being genuine. He's not credible. He's not who he puts across he is. So yeah, I thought that was quite a good insight to where his mask slips.
Yeah.
Because he does so many videos and his mask doesn't slip so often because he's a veteran in talking the talk.
Oh, the thing is, he talks with absolute conviction and absolute confidence. And this is what I said. I think I said it on Darren's first interview. With the world the way it is right now, with a blithering man like Boris Johnson trying to rule the country, not giving direct information, unfortunately Charlie does, and he does say it with absolute conviction and absolute power. These people are, that's why they fall into him, because they're looking for someone that's got a bit of oomph to them, and that's the unfortunate subject that we're at the moment in life. But don't need to, because he says it with power and conviction doesn't mean he's honest. You can see he's an absolute bully scumbag guy that wants to just knock on people's doors because that's the way it's handled. It's not. It's not. Absolutely, he wasn't around us with us as children, because I'd have probably got black and blue. But you don't treat people like that. You talk to people, you educate people, you make them understand the problem and the issue and come to a solution for it. You don't threaten people. That's not the way forward.
And if you think there's an injustice there, you defend yourself with your words and evidence, don't you? You don't go, I don't like what this guy's saying, so legal team's going to be involved. If that doesn't work, we're going to go around there and beat him up. It doesn't shed a good light on whether he's genuine, does it? Really? I mean,
why would you want to follow him? Like, seriously, someone like that?
The thing is this mask slipping happens so
Is it becoming more and more frequent? I'm just asking out of curiosity.
See, the thing is he's done like 4 interviews a day for a year. You know, so there's so much material. These interviews can be half an hour to 2 hours long. He's on camera constantly, and yes, I could easily and did easily make that video 30 reasons I don't trust Charlie Ward. It could have been 100 reasons. I could have gone on and on. I don't have my life to watch 4 episodes of Charlie Ward show a day to show you where the inconsistencies are. That was more of a wake up, guys. Here's a load of stuff that I've got laying around. It wasn't like I had to go and find it, and I just smashed it all together. There you go. I don't trust him because of that. It caused a lot of controversy. I could have carried on. I don't have all the time in the world. I'm a normal bloke. I've got a normal life. I've got a job, I've got family. I haven't got the time to listen to him for 4 hours a day. But if that was easily found, what else is there? And people send me stuff all the time, and I just don't have time to report on it all. Does his mask slip that often? I'd say personality-wise, no. He is very good at putting on a persona, but it's there. I've just shown you 9 minutes of him mask slipping. But in terms of him being wrong and his intel or research being bad, or him selling a lie, or even being duped by a lie, or things that are not true, it's everywhere for you to see. And I can show you more of them, in fact. Just quickly. Sorry?
I said rather not watch that anymore, but well, show me what you're going to show me anyway.
For the sake of the interview, I've got a couple more bits to show you. I won't go on.
For the sake of the interview.
It's just so you can get a scope of some of the stuff he's saying, that's all. I know that I've already done a bit of that in the last interview. I've got a little bit more. It's not much. That was the big clip there. I wanted you to see the mask inside.
I've always said I don't mind watching some of this. I personally never watch a single thing of his. Never taken any interest in what he does until obviously we started discussing this. Because
this is why I think it's an important part of the last interview that we did. So some people will say, well, why are you showing this all again? Well, Glenn hasn't seen it. And I know that you don't like to see it, but you know, this is why you're here, right?
I know he's a liar. I know he talks crap. And I just don't even like to hear his voice really at times. Just no, serious.
I promise you, I've only got a couple of minute clips left of his voice, and we will talk without hearing him talk again from there on. Just quickly to insert, I know that the video is still lagging. What I will try and do is put over a clean video over top of our reactions to the video. Use a bit of editing magic. Hopefully that'll work. So I apologize, Glenn. You're watching this from this side, lagging a bit. So there's well, maybe there's 2 clips I want to show you really. One is his other claims and lies. Let's get that out of the way with now, since you're telling me you don't want to see any more lies.
No. Don't mean like that. But,
a presidential pair of cufflinks with Donald Trump's signature on the back of both. These can't be bought. These are gifted because they're in red.
Come on now, people. You are smarter than this. All you have to do is go and have a look on eBay, and straight away, there you go, look. Cufflinks, presidential. The exact same ones with the, in red, with Donald Trump's signature on the back for around $200. Collectible memorabilia, nothing else. And he has made a lot of assertions that, of predictions, well, not predictions, of intel that he says is going to happen, which hasn't materialized so far. These range from apparent mainstream media blackouts to Trump coming on the emergency broadcast. The most notable one was his absolute certainty in ensuring his viewers that Trump would serve 4 more years as president.
Are you a CIA operative that has been hired to disperse disinformation to either confuse us or calm us down? Any truth to any of that?
No, absolutely not. The only contact I've ever had with anybody to do with the CIA is Robert David Steele, who was a former employee. I've got 2 other former CIA operatives who contacted me They used to work for the CIA, and they gave me first-class intel, but they didn't want me to name them publicly because they're currently working with the Trump team to expose what's gone on in the past. I was offered 30 years ago the chance to go to a Masonic lodge and chose to turn it down. For whatever reason, probably just God had his hand on me and told me not to go anywhere close to it.
You feel or felt firmly committed to the fact that President Donald Trump will, in fact, have another 4 years in office. Now, is there any part of you that has plan B in mind? Is there any part of you that, okay, looks like Biden might actually win? What now? What do we do next? Any part of you that still that has a plan B with regards to that question?
The only plan B that would even come anywhere close to reality is if John F. Kennedy Jr. was alive and took the place of Donald Trump. That's the only thing I could see.
Goodness. All right. So still firmly committed and confirmed to the fact that Trump will be in.
100%. For your interest, to summarize. Number one, the CIA headquarters was raided and the FBI has been neutralized, and 35 trillion US dollars of US Treasury embezzled funds have been recovered.
Now, this was being presented as brand new information that was sent to him. However, there is a website called Stillness in the Storm, which reports on information like this that's been sent in. And this was actually word for word. He is reciting a post that was made in 2017. How's that for reliable intel? I show him telling us that the mainstream media, and Charlie's agreeing, the mainstream media is going to be shut down by the 13th of January, which of course did not happen.
Hours, all the big media channels were going to go down as well. And what I hear...
Look at them nodding their heads.
Thing, Simon?
Yes, but I thought it was going to happen on Wednesday.
So did we, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Now, Charlie's intel was proven wrong when Biden was inaugurated. I had speculated that Charlie would come up with a new narrative straight after. Charlie then had told us how he had received the video, a pre-recorded video of the inauguration 10 hours before. Now, in a separate video, he told us how this was 7 hours before. Whilst making this video, I made sure to note down that I was going to talk about this. However, during making this video, he actually made an admission that he was duped. He was sent a video of the swearing in of Vice President Biden 8 years ago for Obama. Man, how could you screw this up?
For most people who followed me, they know that I published the video of the inauguration 10 hours before it happened.
Yes.
So that tells you something.
The recording, yeah.
It was a recording. I've since found out that we now believe that the video that was sent to me about the inauguration 10 hours before was 8 years before, when he was inaugurated as Obama's vice president. So somebody was being a bit playful. But what it did do was it got you, the people, to go out and ask questions, and that's better.
Sorry, but how can you be duped by these people? He's got such high power, people around him and such intel. These great people that, working with Donald Trump. Well, they just thought, let's have a little joke with Charlie Ward. Come on. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the reasons is followers or actually Charlie uses is, we got bad intel. He didn't on that occasion. We got bad intel, but it's because all of the deep state watch my show for the info.
Yeah.
And we have to throw them off sometimes. So if I ever give bad intel, it's because it's throwing off the deep state.
Oh, right. Is that he's playing trick? Oh, it's like all mind games, is it?
So if he's ever wrong, he's covered. Because
what about his private groups and stuff? Surely he's got the with all these people around him, they can build a secure app where they cannot infiltrate this kind of information. I'm sure.
I mean, he's got the Insiders Club where people pay him for his intel.
Yeah.
He's got a WhatsApp group and he's got a Telegram group. I mean, these are not, even though if you say anything bad about him, you will get blocked immediately. These are not private. Well, they are private, but they're not. he would argue anyone could infiltrate. The extent of, if I'm ever wrong or give you bad information, it's because we need to on purpose. It never ends. There's an excuse for everything. Right?
When you be using a more secure program like Discord or something like that, it's a lot more secure than Telegram and WhatsApp, let's say.
I mean, who knows if he does have those groups, but I could bet my bottom dollar or diner that even in those groups, he is
wrong.
He's saying the same things. And if he's wrong, he's saying, well, I need to throw you guys off, or I can't really talk about it because of this NDA.
Feel there's somebody else infiltrating all that crap.
I mean, the bottom line is
he's going to buy that, though.
All made up, or he's being fed crap. So, regardless of whatever he's saying to people or whatever we know, I mean, we are sure that it is all crap. That's what we're trying to tell people. We're laughing about the fact that he's got an excuse for everything. That should be a major red flag. But some people are so indoctrinated that they will believe anything he says. And I mean anything. I mean, when he lies,
there's one thing
on the screen, and he says
to look at from now on,
which I've shown.
Everyone can look who follows my dad, right? If everyone can watch him, he is never wrong. It's never his fault. It's never anything to do with him. It's always someone to blame. You watch that and you see that. That's all he does. He's always someone to blame. Everything is he'll blame something. He could walk into a wall himself and blame someone else for it. It's just the way he is. Right? It's never his fault as well. Just watch what he does from now on. It's bad.
What do you think to the psychology behind that? I mean, narcissist, sociopath?
No, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. He's full-blown narcissist. I know that. I've had treatment for it. I had CPTSD from this. So, yeah, it's something that I know quite a lot about.
Yeah. I'd certainly say a narcissistic sociopath. The blaming of others constantly. The fact that so to go on from that, talk about mental health. He appears to have no regard to the mental health of others. In fact, Justice, someone I do a lot of videos with, someone that also reports on this stuff, that a good friend of mine, he did a interview with Charlie the same time I did an interview with Charlie. And he asked about what about the mental health of others? What about the impact that you could be having? And he didn't care. He'd said something along the lines of, I'm not of that. I'm not of that kind of view. Let's have a look. I think I've got the clip here.
He doesn't care about the mental health of you or I or any one of his viewers.
Potentially with what his sisters have said about his bipolar and this being such a big claim, could you have aided someone with delusions and serious mental health issues in their fantasies?
I think if you're the new mentality, you would agree with that, but I'm not into that at all. I think there needs to be more men out there with backbones. At the moment, we're in a world full of jellyfish who everybody gets offended at everything, and everybody's worried about everyone's mental health. Instead of standing up for yourself and being a man, and that's why one thing I like about you. You've got the bottle to stand up there and say something, whereas a lot of these wimps haven't. And you might offend somebody. The truth doesn't give a shit about your feelings. That's fact. And this is one thing that we need to get through to. We need more people like you and them standing up for what's true instead of, I might upset them.
Yeah. We need people are jellyfish these days. We need more people.
Called me that the other day, actually. When I approached him about this originally, about the situation that got me to talk to you, basically, because he's affected somebody within my family. I've obviously got a little bit pissed about it. So I've got his new number and phoned him, and that's when he started bullshitting me about this fucking government contract he had with the US and all that. And what did he say about that? Hang up. I said, go away and think about what you're saying, because I was with you at the time. And then he's messaged me calling me a jellyfish and all this bollocks and fucking I need a backbone and all that crap. So I've heard that before. I actually got it on a message, actually. So I'm getting a bit pissed because mental health is something that no, he doesn't give two fucks about. He's put me through fucking hell and back, and it's we'll talk about it on another show because I don't really want to talk about it right now. But
sure,
yeah, it's something that he just doesn't give a shit about. I can tell you some fucking shit that he's done and just doesn't care. He just literally thinks it's nothing. He doesn't care for it at all.
Yeah, maybe for another day. But just to say, mental health is why I do what I do. I've said this in a lot of my videos. I'm sure my followers, avid followers, are probably sick of me saying so. But mental health is my main driver, and to hear him say that did piss me off too.
I'm massive with the mental health because obviously I've been through it all, but I've not been through it all. I'm still in it. It's something that's going to you never ever get to come out of it. It's something you're going to have to deal with and learn to deal with throughout the rest of your life.
Absolutely. It's not something that goes away easy.
Control it.
Or goes away at all.
Sorry.
And it's something that can affect you, but your friends, family, people that are close to you. And
it's broken down relationships with my kids' parents and everything. So, it's changes your life and turns your life upside down. And to absolutely disregard it is complete bollocks. Hello, mate.
Hey, mate.
Hey.
How you doing?
We've got Matthew Tepis. Is that right?
That'll do.
Great to see you. I've explained at the beginning of this video, my hearing's gone. Is your audio all the way up? Your mic all the way up, Matthew?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm just basically on my phone. So.
It's all good. I'll just leave my head close towards the screen. It's great to have you on the show.
Has the hearing problem.
Sorry?
I said it's usually my ears that are at fault, having spent so long as a soldier.
It's horrible when you can't hear. I have partial hearing in one ear, and then the other ear is usually fine. I've lost all hearing in my good ear, so I'm running off my 50% ear.
Yeah, I'm 70% down in one and 30% down in the other. So.
Oh, jeez. So you can understand my plight here.
Absolutely.
So Matthew, we've kind of known each other for probably almost a year. In fact, kind of through Twitter, and exchanged some messages. And at one point, we were talking. You were saying that you'd liked some of my work around the whole fake king and whatnot, and the Charlie Ward thing. And then at one point, you were like, "Well, this is what I think about this." And actually, I do know Charlie Ward. And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, really." And that's how I know you. Then when I spoke to Glenn, obviously I said that I knew of you, and it was, oh wow, okay. And then you guys talked, and so that's how you're here, I guess.
Sure.
So, guys, apparently you haven't caught up for a while.
Well, I guess that's the one positive thing that's come out of all of this is I've caught up with Glenn again, and my daughter Lottie, who lived in Spain for a while, became very close to Glenn, and she sends her love, mate, and she's about to deliver my first grandchild. So,
oh, really cool. Yeah, I've got her on Messenger the other day. I actually spoke with her briefly. Not had a phone call with her. Obviously, she's got better things to be doing, like looking after herself with the baby. But yeah, that's amazing news. I didn't know that. She didn't mention that actually. That's good.
Yeah, no,
cool.
It's good news. Makes me feel a bit old, but
yeah. My biggest boy's 16 this year, so.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So for everyone else, and in fact, and for me, actually, Matthew, how do you know Charlie and Glenn?
Well, so I had a very famous uncle who was a TV chef by the name of Keith Floyd. And when Keith sadly passed away, probably 7 or 8 years ago now, I suppose.
Probably a bit longer than that, yeah.
Yeah, probably nearly 10 years ago. Difficult time flies. I met Charlie at his funeral because Charlie and Keith became friends in Keith's sort of final years of his life. And Charlie was a larger-than-life character who turned up to the funeral with one of his other friends, a songwriter called Bill Padley, who actually wrote a song and sang it at the wedding. And of course, after the sort of slightly somber affair, we all went to the pub and had a few beers. And I mean, Charlie and I got on. You know, he's a very affable, very friendly, very gregarious, amusing, interesting character. And I have to say, probably a very different character then to me than he is now. And I always absolutely speak as I find, as I did with you. And when we first started talking, you know, I'd only ever seen Charlie being a fairly decent, upstanding, generous kind of guy. I didn't really know any of this other side of him.
You're not the only person to say that as well. I've had another friend who you know has contacted me, and he has the same view that you know he's a good guy, and you know, but it's just obviously gone on a weird path and maybe had a breakdown or whatnot. And I kind of got the same.
He's just doing it because he loves the attention and loves the fame. He's grossed on that, and he'll say whatever he can to get that kind of attention. He literally will.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Glenn, you know, and I listened to you speak the other night, and it's the first time I'd ever heard you talk about your childhood and growing up and all the other things that you went through. And you know, I found it quite shocking, actually. Not shocking that you said it, but shocking that all of that went on, because I think it's terribly sad that any family should go through that level of trauma and difficulty. So my assessment of Charlie over the years has you know, at a base level, it's probably not changed. You know, I think he himself seems to have had a fairly damaging upbringing in one way or another. Was taken into a fairly controlling environment, and I think because of that environment, didn't really kind of grow in a worldly sense. He's probably one of the most naive individuals, and I don't mean that in an unkind way. One of the most naive individuals I think I've ever met. You know, he would be very keen to leap on any conspiracy tale or story or anything that anybody said. He'd be completely taken in by it, and then pick up the mantle and run with it. I mean, he was. I think years ago, Bill Padley on his radio station had David Icke as a guest, and Charlie met David Icke and was just totally taken in by a whole load of these stories, and maybe that's where the seeds of this whole thing began.
I don't know if you know, actually, he did an interview with David Icke.
Oh, did he? No, I didn't.
Yes,
I don't watch
he did.
Stuff.
And he said, "Oh, David, it's been a long time. You know, remember I met you 30 odd years ago or whatever it was." And he was like, "Sorry, did I? Oh, okay. Well, not nice to see you again." I mean, and you could see the look on Charlie's face. He was like, "Oh God, I thought you'd remember me." But obviously, he didn't. It was probably just another. To David, another fan that's lost in the faces of many fans.
Yeah, you see, I don't think he was a fan before. I don't think he really was a fan of any of that kind of stuff until David came over to Spain to meet with Bill Padley. And funny enough, I kind of got terminated by Bill Padley over that event because he said, "Oh, I'm interviewing David." I'd given Bill a number of questions for some of his previous guests on his show. He was interviewing a guy from Mossad, and he said, "Well, what do I ask a guy from Mossad to, you know, make it sound as if I know a little bit about the Israeli intelligence services?" So I gave him a whole bunch of questions to get the conversation going. So he was quite grateful for that. And then he came back to me and said, "Well, you know, what do I ask David Icke?" I said, "Don't ask me. The bloke's a fucking idiot." But anyway, so Bill was a bit affronted by that and didn't really want to speak to me again after that. So that's fair enough. But I think Charlie was quite. I think he might have even stayed at Charlie's house. Glenn, was that right? No?
I don't know. I really don't know the guy. I've never paid attention to any of this, like any of the David Icke, any of the conspiracy theories. It's just not my cup of tea.
No, but it was kind of around the time that you were there. You were kind of around Charlie's house quite a bit at that. So when I came over to stay in Spain, that era. Anyway, so he, nothing really more was said of it, other than the odd, very strange tale from Charlie over the years. He went on some trip and came back and told me that he had absolute proof that Osama bin Laden was alive and living on an island and such and such.
I remember you used to say that.
I've heard this claim from Charlie as well. On one of his videos. Apparently, Osama was a lovely guy, according to Charlie.
Lovely, I'm sure.
So I think when you've lived in the environment all my life that I have, sort of military and government service, and it becomes very apparent to you when a story is just complete nonsense very, very quickly. There are very, very early signs in all of these conspiracy theories where you look at them and you think, well, that just can't possibly be the case because of A, B, and C. And I kind of alluded to Charlie, and obviously you can't discuss why it's a load of nonsense because that's the way it is. Yeah. But anyway, he was utterly convinced by this story, and that was the first sort of foray into this that we had until COVID first started, and he sent me a number of WhatsApp messages, which were the standard ridiculous circulars that were coming out of God knows where about the way to get rid of COVID is to drink lots of water and swallow quickly so the virus goes into your stomach, and Charlie was sending me these things saying, well, I'm getting these from a really good source. I said, Charlie, you're not. They're everywhere on WhatsApp and they're just being sent around because they're spam. And then he got into this Nisara nonsense, and he said, started telling me about that, and I pointed out 3 or 4 major reasons why that couldn't possibly be the case, and it came to a bit of a head when he said, well, of course, that all debt between the USA, Russia, and China has just been cancelled, and they're closing down the SWIFT system this weekend. It was July, I think, last year. And I said, Charlie, that's absolutely not true, because you can look on the live debt trading markets right now, and they're all being traded. And I send a lot of money around using SWIFT and IBAN. I said, it's still completely up and running. Absolutely. Money leaving my account, arriving in other places. It's just nonsense. And it was that stage where he started to go a little bit cold on me, because every one of his, and this was before he started doing his YouTube thing. It was just him, sending stuff around on WhatsApp. And every one, I just pointed out 2 or 3 reasons why what he was saying was just nonsense, utter nonsense. And then he blocked me on WhatsApp. So I phoned him up and I said, look, and he was a major league Trump fan, totally taken in by all the propaganda that was sent around about Trump. And I pointed out to him where it was coming from, why it was being circulated, how it was gaining so much traffic. Disinformation is something I've studied quite a lot over the years. And he just wouldn't have it, and then told me that either he started to tell me that it was I that was stupid and clearly didn't understand any of this, and was far too conditioned by my institutionalized life, and I really started to have less and less to do with him. Really, then he was going on about the watermarked ballots and the quantum voting system, and I pointed out 2 or 3 reasons why that just couldn't possibly be the case, and he wouldn't have that either. And then, of course, Trump lost the election comprehensively, and I sent him a conciliatory note. I said, look, Charlie, a lot of people have been taken in by this. Don't feel bad about it. If you want to talk about it and still be friends, and he basically just completely blanked moving forward.
At what point in all this, because he claims to be working for Trump, for the Trump administration, he claims to be getting secret intel from them directly. At what point, obviously, your friendship, and obviously what you're talking about, you started talking about this before he even had a YouTube channel. But somewhere along the line, he started claiming that, actually, I'm getting secret intel from the Trump administration. I'm working for Trump. This is one of my questions. Where do you see that? And what do you see that as?
You see, I don't actually doubt that he believes that. I think he actually really does believe that. He met this guy in, I'm going to say Dubai, could be somewhere else, who he said, look, I'm getting direct feeds from the American ambassador in wherever it was. And I said, so what's his name? And he came up with the name. And I said, that is not the American ambassador and such. This person is. So he went away and he came back and said, "Oh no, you're right. It's not the ambassador. It's one of his chief aides." And of course, I did 0.5 of a second digging and found out that wasn't true either. So he's been, assuming there are elements of truth in this story, he has been recruited by somebody who is feeding him this shit, supposedly on behalf of the US government. Now, anybody who knows anything about how the intelligence world works knows that's exactly how a foreign power would recruit an agent, recruit a source. You start feeding this kind of information and see where it gets to and see where it goes. If it is somebody working on behalf of the Russians or the Chinese or one of the other major powers that uses disinformation extensively in the pursuit of its aims, the whole thing starts to gain a little bit of legs, particularly with somebody as gullible as Charlie. So they're feeding him this kind of stuff. He believes that it's real. They will have fed him a couple of things that actually did check out, through clever analysis or lucky guesswork or whatever, which will gain it in his mind. And I genuinely think he believes a lot of this stuff.
I mean, I think you said before that you believe there's a real sort of naivety there with Charlie, that and not in a bad way, that sometimes he may be more potentially eager to believe in some wild claims, being that, I mean, obviously he's claiming he's got 14 million followers. I can prove that's not true, that's a lie. Whether it's a lie coming from him or from his team that are doing his social media and whatnot is another story. But he does have a lot of listeners, and he definitely has at least 50,000, probably in the 100, maybe 200, maybe even 300,000 people hanging on his word. So what do you think the possibility is that some of this shit, as you say, that's being fed to him is being done on purpose by actual people with an agenda?
So it's a well recorded fact that disinformation factories are using this type of network in order to reinforce, to introduce and reinforce crazy ideas. When you look at the historical perspective of people like the Russians and how much effort they put into disinformation, during the height of the Cold War, they had more officers working in disinformation in the Soviet Union than they did in frontline tank units. And they take it very, very seriously. They're multi-channel, and their reach is very broad. So using this kind of method to circulate this kind of information and recruit people based on their fears, on their gullibility, there is always going to be a community that is desperate to believe this stuff. You whip up enough fear and tell them, well, this is the solution, and it's your government trying to control you or inject a chip in you or whatever it may be. There is enough people who will believe that in order to make the needle shift on the amount that the vaccine gets taken up, or the amount of people that buy gold or cryptocurrency or whatever it may be. So there's always somebody behind this manipulating that kind of message in order to deliver a result.
I will quickly say that obviously me and yourself, Matthew, have had a few conversations around some of the stuff you've just mentioned, and I believe that this happens not only in realms like this where people have a lot of followers. It also happens in the mainstream media and through government, in my opinion, and or from my research, some of my research. I have my own opinion on some of what's going on in the world today with the pandemic and the vax and things like that. Not for today to discuss, I don't think necessarily, but your point was very clear in that, and I fully agree with the fact that people on these sort of channels, especially when they have a massive following, it's clear they are a great tool for people with an agenda to push disinformation, and that can happen especially, and I think especially very much so in the truth community or the conspiracy community today. It has been for the last, well, maybe 60 years, but even so, going back to when I was younger, there was definitely some of that there, but it wasn't so prominent. But for me, especially in the last 5 years or so, it's become immense, and that's probably because of the rise of social media and everyone relying on that. More people are watching what's going on Facebook than they are what's going on TV. So it would be the perfect tool to spread lies, fear, manipulate people. And I do wonder whether Charlie and perhaps his naivety is being played upon by some people with agendas, maybe some nefarious people.
There is that, but I also, I mean, having listened to a lot of what Glenn said, my view has become slightly less altruistic towards what Charlie and his cohorts are doing, because there's clearly money to be made out of it.
Absolutely, there's a circle going on. I don't know if you're aware.
And the absolute refusal to take real truth. So this is other bloke Mahoney who just talks utter nonsense. The guy who promoted this
King,
Hallett bloke,
Greg Hallett.
I mean, what a load of nonsense. And I had a conversation with him and pointed out half a dozen absolutely bomb-proof reasons why his story was just full of holes, and of course he just blocked me. So it's absolutely clear these people are just not at all interested in what the real truth is. They just want to spin their
I said it in the last show as well. I think my dad, you can imagine him sitting there laughing with his mates because they were selling Venezuelan pound notes, whatever they were, on eBay. That's the most devalued currency in the world, bar none. And they're selling it
prices are selling it for
at £3.50 when it's worth 0.001 of a penny. They must be pissing themselves laughing. Look what we're able to do because of what we are. They're
look
just
the hold that we have on people.
And that's what they do.
But in the early days, Charlie really genuinely believed this Hallett bloke as well. Because when he first contacted me about it, again, way before the YouTube channel, he talked to me about this guy, and he said, "Well, I've done a whole load of investigation. I've seen a whole load of documents." And when I had a quick look at the sort of documents and the evidence that he felt that he had, it was just so Janet and John ridiculous. And I pointed it out to him. I said, "Charlie, this is just nonsense. You when you actually look at what you've got in your hand there, it is nonsense. It's a made-up piece of document." The letter that Hallett supposedly wrote to world leaders. I mean, I read it, 40 odd pages of it or something. It was just drivel, because it was on an old looking scroll and had wax seals,
coffee stained paper.
That's authentic.
Yeah. I mean, so I suppose we could close this up. What you guys are both here today because you want to reach people, you want to help people. Obviously, there are people being affected. Mental health, me and Glenn were talking about just before you came on, and that is something that we, is big for us, and it's my driver. It seems like, actually, if anything, Glenn, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it's more so your driver rather than what financial hurt it might be doing people.
Well, yeah, the whole thing, everything's all going to reflect in everything, isn't it? I just don't think people should be listening to this, to him. Mental health, well, we'll have to do it one day, but God,
yeah.
Fucking
well, going with this is that people are investing their time, their money, their hopes, their dreams, their mental health. One thing we didn't mention was med beds. You just touched on the overinflated forex selling, foreign exchange money, dinar, Venezuelan dollars. The people are throwing money at buying this and are not getting the return they hoped for. There is a quantum financial system that that Charlie is claiming. So this kind of stems from Nazara Gazara that Matthew was just talking about. And not only that, there's med beds, and this is one of the most sickening ones for me. I fully believe that there is advanced technology that's being held back. Usually it does for 30 or 50 years. But apparently, we're behind with some advanced technology that's being kept under wraps for one reason or another. So I fully believe there is, but these med beds, it's possible that there could be advanced technology in the medical domain that's not being released, in my opinion. However, when it comes to these med beds, Charlie's saying they're coming next week. I mean, Simon Parkes, another guy, I won't go too much into him. He's been saying he's got this group, Connecting Consciousness group, kind of like the Insiders Club of Charlie. And he's saying, well, from what I know, the military will have them in some respect soon, and it won't be Connecting Consciousness group that get them first. But I'm glad to be a part of it, and our group are glad to be, inferring that his group of people are going to be the first to get the med beds. I mean, this sort of stuff really concerns me, because there are people at home going, you know what, my father's ill, the med bed. Charlie said the med bed's coming soon, and it's giving them this hope. Some people think that giving them this hope is a kind thing. For me, it's a cruel thing. I don't know. What are your views on that, guys?
When people come up with these theories, that say governments or military are holding back this technology, and there's this huge this whole other world going on. Anybody who's worked in government or the military knows that neither military nor government are anywhere near competent enough to pull off that kind of thing. And having been in and around that world all my life, I can assure you that whole concept is just utter nonsense. And technology is not invented by government and military. It's invented by industry. Industry exists to make money. So these things are banged out into the market and exploited as rapidly as they possibly can. There is no technology which is being held back for nefarious means. That's just utter nonsense.
I mean, Matthew, I'd have to disagree. If it was compartmentalized, as it suggested it is, then you could spend your whole life in the intelligence community and not know what's going on above your head. But we can agree to disagree on that. Let's get back to the subject in hand. What I mean, I know why you guys are here. So what would be your hope for people? Hope for people that are seeing this today, especially those who were seeing it with scorned eyes, thinking these guys are deep state. These what were the message you want to get across? What was your hope that people would realise from this? Why are you here?
Stop believing nonsense, people. Whoever it comes from, Charlie or Mahoney or this other Parkes bloke, whatever. It is all just utter nonsense. And just walk around and look at the world as it really is. It's not that complicated. Okay, there's a lot of bad goes on in the world. There's a lot of connected criminality, and sure, some of that reaches into government and big corporate and all the rest of it. It exists. It always has existed. But there is no cabal or deep state or any other organized thing going on in the world which is manipulating this kind of thing. And anybody,
in terms of Charlie,
who tells you that there is just talking rubbish.
I mean, but in terms of Charlie, what would you hope people take from this? You knew him. You spoke to him. He had a reaction to you trying to talk maybe sense into him.
Listen to anything.
What do you want people to know?
Anybody like him is my message.
Yeah, do your own research and listen to what he's saying, and just research it. That woman that was on a private jet with him 25 years ago. Private jets are not easy jet. You don't just randomly get on them. Do the map. Listen to what's coming out. Look at what he's saying and see what is. This ain't true. It's laughable almost. And guys, if you think that he's got the answer, unfortunately he hasn't. I don't think there's many people that will have an answer. Maybe looking for something because you're in a little bit of a lonely space. But these things happen in life, and I know that because I kind of got sucked into him as well. Well, unfortunately, I'm his son. So, but you have to sort of take the reins by yourself, and you have to find what you've got to find out yourself, because everybody's going to be different and everybody's path is going to be different. And his is not the path you want to be going down, for sure.
Great words. And I suppose I'll add to that, just be open to hearing what you don't want to hear out there, guys, because, there are a lot of people that probably be watching this that will be like, I want these guys to be wrong, that don't want to hear anything else. But they are also, a lot of them, guys that will, Charlie will tell it so it's true, and they won't go back and look at the evidence or the truth. And when obviously, like my channel, a lot of what that's involved in is going, well, this is what I found out, here's some evidence, there you go. And you know, and here's my opinion on it, but that's the evidence. Do what you will with it. So, for instance, with the 30 reasons I don't trust Charlie Ward video, it was very much, he said this, here's the evidence of the truth. They don't match up. You know, just be open to watching it, is all I will say. Be open to listening to reading documents that are sent to you that may not be of the truth or the potential truth that you want to hear, because you know so much, you've seen so many YouTube videos, whatever it may be, you trust this guy because he's bad, because some guy had endorsed him. Just look at the other side of the fence and make your own mind up. Once you've seriously told yourself, you know what, I will look at both sides properly.
Somebody very wise said something to me a long time ago, and that is, people will forgive you for being wrong much quicker than they'll forgive you for being right. And once they've invested in one of these conspiracy theories, and they've stood up on their own platform and said, look, I really believe in this, it carries its own weight. And because they are people who are susceptible to this kind of nonsense in the first place, which is why they're targeted, why they're taken in, and why people like Charlie prey on them, is because they are susceptible to it. And you'll never convince them that he's wrong. They'll die first. You know, it's tragic, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, and I can't remember who the quote is from, but there was a famous quote. It's easier to convince someone that they've been fooled than. Oh, hang on.
He'll come back with that in the next show.
Easier to fool somebody than convince them they have been fooled.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you very much. Just making myself look like an idiot. That was the one that I was meaning. So I did have the right thought process, although I blanked. It's not helping that I can't hear. I feel like it's completely 50% in my brain. I'm not clear as focused as anything, so I'm blaming it on that.
I sympathise.
Guys, no, I really appreciate you being here today, and I'm sure everyone else will. Glenn, go back and look at the comments of the last video. You'll see how many people that you really have helped.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that this weekend for sure. I will make a bit of time.
Please do. And Matthew, please know that you've helped as well, and go back and look at the comments coming from this. Guys, we are helping people. And to all those out there that have got this far through the video, thank you for listening. Please share it with people please share it with anyone, but especially those you're concerned about being taken in by this. I know that we've helped a lot of people through people watching our video and going, look, please listen to these guys. So that is important to share. Like, subscribe. Thank you for being here. Follow MC for Truth. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Matthew. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.